Welcome to the official start of the offseason for the New York Jets. And yes, Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, will continue. Today and every Monday moving forward is a mock draft Monday. What does that mean? We're going to be breaking down New York Jets draft scenarios. We're going to be giving you more information on prospects. For today's episode in particular, we'll be reacting to the fact that the Jets clinched the 10th overall pick in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft. What does that mean? What could they have had if they lost? What prospects would they lose out on because of that decision? We're going to get into all of that here on the first offseason episode of Boy Green Daily. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Paul Weston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com, and I'll tell you this. I told my guest this, who will be joining us every Monday throughout the offseason. You know, it's a victory Monday. Jets beat the Patriots. That feels good. That's the first time I've been able to say that in over 8 years. So, yeah, I'm going to savor that one. But on a greater sense, it's the end of the season, and I was sitting in you know, I could see it over here, the man cave. You know, I was sitting watching the game, had my jersey on, and that's the last time I'm going to be doing that till September. It's just it's a weird feeling. So I'm excited for the off season. I love these episodes, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, I can't believe it's already the off season. But hey, that is the cycle of the NFL season. Without further ado, let's introduce my new co-host moving forward for every Mock Draft Monday Boy Green Daily episode. It is Dom C, who is the architect. Okay, he is the straw that stirs the drink. He's the face that runs the place. When I knew I wanted to talk NFL draft, he was the guy that we had to go to for all these conversations, and I'm looking forward to it. Let's bring him in. Dom C, Project Prospect. What's up, Dom?
Paul, I'm doing very well, Paul. Yourself? Chat, good morning. Exciting Monday, yes. Sad Monday, like we talked about a little bit.
So here it is. The Jets, there was a lot of wazoo yesterday. Ooh, is it here? Is it there? With a lot of these late games mattering here for the New York Jets. Ultimately, the Jets have clinched the 10th overall pick. Mm-hmm. And quick history lesson. I love doing this because I'm a Jets draft nerd. The Jets have previously selected with the 10th overall pick 3 times in the modern draft era. That means from 1970 and on is considered the modern draft era. And the Jets have taken or had the 10th overall pick 3 times. And most recently, we all know Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, Ohio State. Not too shabby. He's worked out pretty well. And I'll even throw it up here on the big board. I tweeted it out last night, a nice little smooth graphic. It's also in our YouTube community tab, if you prefer. What about another wide receiver? Al Toon, Wisconsin, 1985, another wide receiver there. And then finally, last time, the oldest time the Jets had it was 1984. Russell Carter, the defensive back out of SMU. There you go. And now the Jets will have it for a 4th time. And hey, it could be another wide receiver. I guess we'll find out. What, Dom, what's your reaction to the history of the Jets and the 10th overall pick?
Al Toon is kind of one of those guys that made me, I was a little guy back then, but sure. He kind of made me like the Jets. My dad always rooted for Al Toon, even though my dad was, by letter of the law, he was a Raiders fan, still is. He liked Al Toon. I rooted for Al Toon. And I don't think you could be a Jet fan now and not like, love, respect, worship the ground that Garrett Wilson walks on. The draft history at number 10 is pretty dang good, if you ask me.
Well, I'm exactly going to do that. So, Dom, you are familiar with the draft. You do all
Yes.
these things with the draft, which we're going to learn about as we do this. With your own YouTube channel and everything else that you do. And for me, I'm a little guppy. I watch college football, but I get to be a big draft nerd. But I normally don't get to fully dive in until this very moment, and then for the next 3 months, try to read and consume and watch as much as possible as I get into this. So the
Mhm.
Jets have the 10th overall pick. They do not have a second-round pick as we currently stand. And
Mhm.
we'll assess the full draft order on a different episode of everything that the Jets have and will have, because the playoff teams have to fully go through their way before we perfectly know how everything's going to line up, comp picks and all that jazz as well. But knowing that the Jets have the 10th overall pick, and you knowing the draft as you do,
Mhm.
how do you feel about where the Jets stand and the prospects that could be available at 10th overall on a general sense? Things will change,
Yeah.
Senior
Yeah,
Bowl,
yeah.
Combine, and all that, of course, but at this moment in time.
So at this, I mean, listen, uh, would I have liked to be picking 6 rather than 10? Yes, you get that much more chance at your guy, at the a bigger crop of players. I'll say this: I think you're still going to land a very, very talented player at 10, especially in this draft class. I think that the drop from 6 to 10, I think, assures you one thing, that you're probably out of the Joe Alt sweepstakes, which to some is going to be yeah, and me too. I mean, he was my favorite offensive lineman in the class. He was my OT1.
Do you think there's a 0% chance?
eh, I'd be willing to say that, Paul. I mean, I'd be
You
willing.
would be. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I find it very. I guess there's never a 0% chance, because we're only in January and the draft is until the end of April. So anything could happen in that. But I would say I'd likely place the majority of my shekels on the idea that Joe Alt is going to be gone. Okay,
Okay.
I think the second guy that you probably definitely lost out on is the wide receiver from LSU, Malik Neighbors. Now,
Wow. Really?
oh,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I think he's gonna fall between that top 9 thing, the top 9 guys. Obviously, I'm not including Marvin Harrison, because I don't even think at 6 he was never going to be in the cards. I'm talking the guys that in that 6 to 10 range that you're going to lose. Probably we lost out on the opportunity to draft a Malik Neighbors, who in any other draft class in the past 3 years would probably be wide receiver number 1. I mean, he's a special talent, probably a blend of Jamar Chase and Garrett Wilson.
Wow.
Yeah,
High praise.
can win at all 3 levels, strong, competent with his hands, good, drops in and out of his breaks, so on and so forth. So a very good wide receiver, probably wide receiver number 1 in any other class. And Joe Alt, like I said, who is pretty much as solid, functionally strong and sound technically of a offensive tackle prospect as there is in this class. Very high floor, maybe not the ceiling of some, but a very, very high floor, and probably going to follow in his father's footsteps and be a long-term NFL tackle for many, many years. So
How
I
many
think
quarterbacks are going in the top 10?
I think you can assure 3.
And are those all who we think? Drake May, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels?
Yeah. That's
Is
my
there
guess.
any surprise name that could enter that mix?
At quarterback or at any position?
At quarterback. Well, we could talk about any position eventually, but I
Sure.
think that's the one where, because,
I know.
okay, let me, yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just want to ask this, I guess. I don't want to assume anything during this process.
Uh-huh.
Is there any chance the Jets take a quarterback in the first round?
I don't see any situation that would encourage.
I'm in the same boat, but again, I didn't want to assume. So, okay. So us both kind of like virtually handshaking over that.
Mhm.
That means if the Jets are not going to take a quarterback basically under any circumstance, then Jet fans want as many quarterbacks to go as possible. In
Correct.
theory, that should drop talent closer to 10. So I agree that I think there's 3, but I didn't know if there was a chance quarterback crazy crap happens that all of a sudden, because for instance, so the draft order, for those who don't know, I'll also put this up on the screen so you guys can see it, beyond the Jets. So we try to figure out the puzzle pieces here. This is via tankathon.com. Thanks for their contributions. You have the Panthers, but it belongs to the Bears. Number 1. Washington, number 2, Patriots, number 3. Just starting there for a second, the Bears can either draft a quarterback or restart it, or they could trade the pick to a quarterback needy team who would take a quarterback. Washington's likely going to take a quarterback. The Patriots, would they take a quarterback? Because they don't have one. So then they get froggy. If quarterback goes bang, 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 all of a sudden, I feel like other teams start to get a little froggy potentially if anyone else is thinking quarterback potentially in this group, like Atlanta. Atlanta fires Arthur Smith last night. One of the big reasons he was fired, they waited forever on quarterback. Desmond Ridder, third-round pick. Marcus Mariota. They played around drafting all kinds of talent like Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and Kyle Pitts, but they never took the quarterback. Arthur Smith never gets a whack because he waited too long. So they would make sense for quarterback. Bears would have already taken it, so they won't take it twice. Tennessee, they have their guy in Will Levis. The Giants have the Daniel Jones thing. That's a disaster. Chargers have Herbert. And Arizona, we talked about maybe them doing it, but it seems less likely at 4. Man, if 3 go bang, 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 that could increase pressure for another team to go, I want to make sure I get my next guy. Who is the next guy, in your opinion, after those 3?
So in my opinion,
yes,
I know this is going to go against the norm of everyone, but I'm going to explain myself. In my opinion, the next quarterback off the board is probably Bo Nix, the Oregon quarterback.
And is there a massive gap between those 3 and Bo Nix?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Bo Nix really. I mean, I think the next tier, that first tier, the first 3, in whatever order you have them, is way up here. The next tier, the next tier for me, and this is just for me, is probably the bottom of the first round, where one of those early second round teams move up to trade up for one of these guys, and that's so they get the extra 5th year, and that's the Bo Nix, the JJ McCarthy's, the Michael Penix.
What about Penix?
Yeah,
okay.
Well, I was just
he's still in that category.
Yeah, listen. Here's the thing: Penix by talent is better. It's probably by pure talent, it's probably better than Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy. I think that JJ McCarthy probably has the highest ceiling of the 4. He's the youngest. He just starting to break out. He is untapped potential. Very, very high ceiling, also a very low floor in JJ McCarthy. Michael Penix, you know what you're going to get. The talent is there. The problem is, and I know this is going to be beaten till like a dead horse until April. The problem is that he's an injury flag for a lot of these teams, and that plays an important part in the scouting and profile prospect. There is no medical examination that happens at the combine that is going to be more important than the one that happens on Michael Penix. He could be the name that pushes him up into that, that top 12, top 15, top 12, maybe even top 10 range. If he comes away with clear medicals and some team is willing to overlook the past. We're talking 2 ACL in 4 consecutive years. We're talking 2 ACLs on the same knee. We're talking a separated non-throwing shoulder and a separated AC joint on his throwing shoulder. Big time medical concerns. I think those concerns push Michael Penix way down the board. Probably second round. Maybe somebody hops up to the end of the first. Again, that's my opinion. Not a knock on his talent. The talent is there, and all he needs is one team to bypass the 4 years of his college history and say, hey, listen, we're going to take our chance on a soon-to-be 25-year-old quarterback with a bad knee and 2 bad shoulders.
Or the last time I checked, the national championship game tonight is tonight, Dom C. And with how he looked against Texas, because to me, that's not the first time I've seen Penix, but maybe it is for a lot of people who aren't watching Washington games. I mean, the deadly accuracy. I mean, he was dropping rainbows into a bucket. I mean, that was incredibly talented. another surge tonight, despite everything you said, the age, the injuries. I knew about that because shout out to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast, PFF special with Connor Rogers and Trevor Sikkema.
Yeah.
They had been talking about that for many years, about the troubling injury history for Penix, but also, paired with the incredible talent, which made it such a complicated eval. That, man, could a sterling performance tonight all of a sudden, and think about this. Now I'm just throwing crazy here. So for the NFL coaching cycle, today's Black Monday, which, again, our thoughts are out to all those people. It sucks that it is, but it's part of the NFL cycle. It has to happen. NFL coaches that are in the NFL pool, that are in the playoffs and everything else, have to wait until the divisional round to do all these interviews. Harbaugh doesn't, because technically he's not in the NFL. Not technically, He isn't. He's in college, so he could circumvent this process faster. Or you think about if something else happens, maybe that can, spark something here. But either way, Penix, let me ask you if that's crazy. If Penix has this crazy game tonight, could he suddenly, his stock start to, really spark? And then we have the offseason, pro day process, bowl games, all-star events. Like, man, maybe he can spark despite some of those red flags.
Absolutely. That is not an idea that's completely out of left field. That absolutely could happen. If I was a betting man, I'd probably say no, but
okay.
I think that absolutely could happen. Listen, for Jets fans, that's best case scenario. We want to kind of just keep the injury history for Michael Penix on the hush, and really wax poetic about his stats and how he drops dimes, and hopefully he wins the national championship today, and kind of push that narrative so that somebody does come up and maybe listens to us. No, listen, that's the ideal situation, is that if we can get a fourth quarterback in there in top 9, it's just going to kind of drop the make the talent pool of the guys that we are honing in, or the positional groups that we are honing in on, to drop down a little bit.
Let me establish this, because I'm not sure a lot of fans are aware. So the Jets have the 10th overall pick. They beat the New England Patriots. However, if they would have lost to the New England Patriots, they needed 2 or 3, depending on the perspective. They had 3 teams ahead of them. If they lost, and those teams lost, they could have leapfrogged in front of those 3 teams. Were in no particular order, were the LA Chargers, the New York Giants, and the Tennessee Titans. If any of those teams won in conjunction with the Jets loss, they could have, leaped up a couple of spots. And go figure, the Jets win their game, and a lot of these games were at 4 o'clock, so we're figuring it out after the fact or not. Tennessee beats Jacksonville. They go to 6-11. The Giants smack the Eagles. They go to 6-11. The Chargers should have beaten the Chiefs. They lost last second. They end up going to 5-12. Long story short, Jet fans ask, what would have happened if the Jets lost instead? And that means beep, boop, bop, pulling out the calculator, so looking in the back room with the mathematicians that are not employed on the Jets sideline. This math checks out, that they would have had the 6th overall pick, Dom C, for all the tanking Jets people out there. So we've hinted at it a little bit here with some of the prospects they may have missed out on. Again, 6 to 10. That is the gap of time that would have potentially changed her. I ask you, Dom C, in this process, as we're here on Victory Monday.
Yes, sir.
Are you pained? And you're a draft guy, obviously, through and through. Are you pained in some way? You woke up this morning like, boy, man, we could have had the 6th overall pick. Or do you not look in hindsight like that?
No, well, I try not to look in hindsight like that. I mean, to me, I just think it's kind of a fruitless exercise, because what happened, you can't change what happened.
Yes, right.
I'm a baseball guy. I'm a baseball player, collegiate baseball player, so on and so forth. And I remember my coach down at Temple University used to tell us, he said, listen, he's like, you get 2.5 minutes. You get 2.5 minutes to worry, or to woe is me, or to pity on what has happened, and then you turn the page. And I think that's what it is here in this situation. We can't go back and change the fact that we beat Washington, that we beat the Patriots, and so on and so forth, and we lost out on that 6th pick, possibly more. So I'm going to look at what we have here, and realistically, like, I think it's a very top heavy draft. I think you're still, it's up to Joe Douglas. It's really up to Joe Douglas now to go and pick a really, really good player at still a really, really premium position. I think the one thing that like I said, that going from 6 to 10, there's really two things that come into play for me. One, I think you missed the chance at really the best tackle in the draft, and that's Joe Alt. To me, I think if there's going to be anything that you're going to sulk over, so on and so forth, I think you missed a chance at the best tackle in the draft. And
so
two,
is he, just real quick to interrupt, is he clearly the best tackle in this draft, or does Fashanu have something to say about that?
No, absolutely. I think he's the best tackle in the draft. I think Fashanu is going to probably be at the top of a lot of boards.
Okay.
And listen, Olu Fashanu is by far is a very good prize if you miss out on Joe Alt. I'm not knocking the kid. I just happen to think Joe Alt all around right now is a better prospect.
Go ahead. Your second point. Yeah.
Second point is I think you missed the opportunity to possibly, if there is a fourth quarterback that kind of starts climbing the ladder, the opportunity to be the team that teams are calling to move up to grab that fourth quarterback and maybe drop down a little bit and gain some of that capital, because after pick 10, I don't think we pick until the 70s. So everyone wants to everyone talks about just trade down and get and pick up a second round pick. Yeah, ideally, why not? But there has to be two to tango, right? And a lot of people you're not coming up to get people trade up for quarterbacks and people trade up for premium positions. So being in 6, you might have had a chance to be that team that people call up for, the likes of Malik Neighbors or the likes of a Michael Penix, or if a Jaden Daniels happens to drop, so on and so forth. So I think going from 6 to 10, you lose out on really widening the gap of teams that might be willing to call up and sometimes overpay. Listen, the quarterback tax is real. People go up for quarterbacks and you have to pay a little bit extra. So.
Well, I want to reiterate basically the same point that you had, that I enjoyed the win yesterday. I didn't think about the draft. Well, that's not true. Like, as the game's going on, I'm like taking a peek at other scores, and I'm like, you know what? And then at a point, I'm just like, you know what? No. I'm all in. I want the Jets to win, and I don't care. We'll see where it settles once it settles, and wherever they pick, and let's rock. And I said this several times on the live show last night, in the postgame show, that if Joe Douglas is half the GM people think he is, he'll figure it out. 10th overall pick last time was Garrett Wilson, excuse me. So you know what? Let's figure it out and see what happens. But I did want to establish the fact. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's gonna be a ton of great names in that realm of number 10. Guys like and we'll I'm sure over this couple 12-week process that we're gonna have here, we'll dive into a bunch of these names. But you got guys like Roma Dunze, the wide receiver from Washington. You got guys like Brock Bowers, the all-world tight end from Georgia. You got guys like Olu Fashanu. I wouldn't be it's not out of the realm that he drops down to 9 the way this board falls. So yeah. On top of that, there's still very, very, very good tackle prospects if that's the avenue you want to go, in Talisi Fuaga and JC Latham. I mean, the list can go on ad infinitum for this realm, this section. And if Joe Douglas, is worth his weight in salt, then he's going to find the right guy for us at number 10. The pool would have been a little bit better at 6, but it doesn't mean that we completely missed out. Listen, do I think we missed out on the best? Do I think we missed out on a chance to draft my favorite tackle in the class? I do, but I don't think the consolation prizes are all that bad.
All right, we only have like a minute or two left here, so we'll wrap up here. What is your raw reaction or raw prediction right now? Again, things will change. I will caveat that probably throughout this entire process. But right now, on January 8th, for the first mock draft Mondays, we're reacting to this pick. The Jets have the 10th overall pick. If you, a betting man, had to put your shekels on something, where are the shekels going? Who do you believe will be the Jets' 10th overall pick if they had to make that pick right now today? Who's the prospect?
Probably between. I'm going to give you 2 because it's so hard to draft. I'm gonna, and they're both going to be tackles.
Okay.
And I'm going to say Olu Fashanu or Talisi Fuaga.
Okay. And
you got a left tackle and a right tackle.
Would you be satisfied with either of those options?
Very much so. Very much so. I think they're
Okay.
both they're both I'm not going to say that they're generational. I'm not going to say that they're blue chip. I'm going to say that I think both of them are plug and play starters and will have very, very successful careers.
All right, and let me ask you this as our final question here.
Mhm.
What is so the Jets have 10th now. So that is locked in. They have the 10th overall pick. What is the decision? Is it best offensive lineman? The Jets, as we looked at their draft history with the 10th overall pick, have taken a couple of receivers. Is it receiver? Is there any other position that's up for grabs, or is it purely those two? What is your assessment from that perspective at this current moment?
Well, I think Joe Douglas has shown that he's going to always draft he's going to draft a premium position with a premium pick. So I'd probably lean those two. But I think the wild card here, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, so don't beat me up, chat. I think they're going to have a conversation about Brock Bowers. Oh, look at that! And Phil just read my mind. I think they're going to have a conversation about Brock Bowers. I really do. He can offer something that he can offer whatever your top end tight ends do in terms of blocking, but he offers so much more in the passing game. If you combine a receiver like Dalton Kincaid, look what Dalton Kincaid did yesterday. He was the de facto number 2 option for Josh Allen in Buffalo. I mean, Brock Bowers can offer that with more speed and with better, sharper route running comparabilities, and with 10 times and being 10 times the better blocker. I think that I think Brock Bowers is going to be in the conversation. I know a lot of people are disgusted to talk about a tight end, but you got to think offensive weapon, right? We talk about needing offensive weapons and surround Aaron Rodgers with offensive weapons. He's one of them. Look at what Aaron Rodgers did over his career with the tight end position in Green Bay. It's utilized. And
when you pair those two things together, so you say Bowers is this transformative prospect in a lot of ways.
Correct.
And Aaron Rodgers is a Pro Football Hall of Famer.
Correct.
When you pair that talent with the capabilities of Rodgers to maximize his talent, again, that's what we talked about, Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and some of these guys this season that never was, unfortunately. What is that? Is that because historically speaking, Dom C, there's rare exceptions. Sam Laporta looked phenomenal this year for the Lions. Unfortunately, he got hurt. Our thoughts are love or sent out to him as well. Hopefully that's not serious, but it takes a while for tight ends to make that transition to the professional level, historically speaking.
It's true.
Does that factor in at all, or is, hey, those were other tight ends, that wasn't Brock Bowers?
I mean,
and also he didn't have Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball as well, in theory.
I talked about this. I don't know if it was on your show or on another show, but I hate to use the term generational because I think people throw it our way too long. Listen, we are not going to see a player at the position of the caliber, with the skill sets, with the body, with all the chutzpah of Brock Bowers in the next 10 to 15 years. Okay. That's real. He's very, very good. He's more than just a tight end. I think they have to label him some sort of offensive weapon as opposed to tight end. He can hop out wide and he can run wide. He can run routes. He's going to run in the low 4.5s. You know what I mean? He's going to run the speed. Maybe not your elite wide receiver speed, but there's going to be plenty of wide receivers he runs faster than.
Okay, we can take Brock Bowers. That's fine. But I have one request, Dom, see if that's possible.
Shoot.
As long as he's not Kyle Brady. I'm good.
Amen.
It's not Kyle Brady. We're not passing up Warren Sapp.
I'm not pushing that we should draft him. I don't want everyone to.
But you're not pushing it.
But I'm saying I think it's going to be a conversation.
Okay. So you think he's a dark horse? Okay, I like it. Spicy way to add on there. Well, Dom C, I'm
Yes, sir.
hoping what this show is able to do for a lot of people. We're having so many viewers right now. I appreciate the numbers. These are stunning numbers here, especially for the off season. I love to see it. So it's fantastic. So thank you guys for supporting the show again. This mock draft Monday style episode will be every Monday. We'll do mock draft, jet scenarios, and everything else of the like. But I really want to react to that initial pick, what they could have had, what they do have, and where does it look. And Dom C, I'm hoping this show will provide a platform for people to say, who the hell is Dom C? And the other people to say, oh, yeah, there is Dom C, because I've seen a lot of those in the chat, which I love. So, Dom C, where can more people find more of your work beyond just the Mondays here on Boy Green Daily?
So I do have my own YouTube channel. It's called Project Prospect with Dom C. We got a podcast that's out and active on there that shows video form on there called the Draft Dodgers, where we've just been we'll do a bevy of different things. We'll break down positional groups in this draft cycle. Do mock drafts, bring in special guests, so on and so forth. That's where you can catch me most of the time. Starting February 5th or whatever that first Monday is in February, I will be co-hosting the 10 o'clock mock on Green Bean's channel,
Yes.
which second year in a row that he's asked me back to do that. And listen, between now and then, between here and April, I'm probably gonna hop on here or there. But the easiest way to catch me is on Project Prospect with Dom C. Please like, subscribe, follow, do all that stuff. It helps me out, helps the algorithm out. And always catch me on Twitter, man. I'm very active on Twitter at DC_NY Jets. Ask me, DM me. I will answer. I promise.
Well, if you're active on Twitter, you better hope so, because the first video clip that's going out from this show is on Brock Bowers being a dark horse for the New York Jets with the 10th overall pick. So have the notifications on, pal. That's all I'm going to say.
And the death threats are on their way.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, engagement's engagement, baby.
That's right.
There is
That's
no
right,
bad
Paul.
publicity. That's phenomenal. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I'm looking forward to this series, and we have a brand new offseason schedule. We'll release it at some point this week on the things you could tune into on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 7:30. Take care, everybody.